Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee or a delicious menu item while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Come by and say hello to Maui. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
Hi everyone, Daphne Lage here. Join Nita Lanning and me on the Ragin' to the Vlogs show, where we talk about everything, nothing, and all the bits in between. Looking for hour-long conversations about indie comics, social media marketing, and crowdfunding, with the occasional rant and story time? Head on over to the Ragin' 2 channel on YouTube, Mondays through Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern to join in the chat.
Hit the button.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at CriticalBlast.com, Chief Envelope Licker for Critical Blast Logistics. Yeah, it's there somewhere. I swear I haven't even popped the top on this yet, and I've already lost all manual dexterity. Myopic proofreader for Critical Blast Publishing, and I answer the phones for Critical Blast Consulting. Tonight, we are going to dive into a special kind of crowdfunding on Indiegogo. Why is it special? Because it's done. I have the book. Here's proof. You've got physical copies out there waiting to be picked up. So throw money at this one and do not worry about the whole late books thing that seems to haunt crowdfunding these days. So to get right into this, let's bring in Max Devill and Johnnie Reed, the creators of this wonderful little project. How you guys doing?
What's going on?
Oh, I'm popping the top on this thing finally.
Nice.
An hour later than usual, man. My body's like, where's my drink?
Yeah, I totally forgot that the little guy had his spring concert today.
Oh, dude, that's way important.
So I had to go to that.
That is super more important than talking about comic books.
Yeah.
But once it's out of the way, then comic books is next.
It's all done, and comic books is back on the table, especially comic books such as Human Hunters.
Johnnie, do you run a comic shop, or do you just have the world's coolest office?
Yes and yes. No, yeah. Actually, yeah, I do own a comic shop. I own a Brute Squad Entertainment in Kansas City, Missouri.
I know where that is. Kansas City, that is, not the store.
Right, great, absolutely.
Yeah, I took high school geography, so Kansas City, right, not that far away actually. So I've been thinking about going to Planet Comic Con next time it comes around. So might have to pop in your store and say hi.
Oh, that'd be great. Plus, rumor says that we may have a booth at Planet Comic Con next year.
Well,
So
a
going
booth. Max, your
by
mic,
Huh?
your mic is cutting out on you.
Here.
I'm not sure why. We'll let you attempt to speak again and see if it comes through clearer.
How about now?
Now it's good. Now it's very good.
All right.
Sometimes simpler ones are better.
Yep.
Right.
So when you guys say you're going to have a booth, possibly, are you talking about like the comic shop having a booth, or?
Oh no, Atrocity Press.
Atrocity Press will have the booth.
Very cool. So how long has Atrocity Press been making books?
Since 2017, so 5 years now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly 5 years.
And we
no
started.
longer a big-
We started doing the character concepts at the end of 2017, and then I believe Mary Machine Gun came out in 2019. Mary Machine Gun issue 1, maybe
Yeah.
2020.
So I've been talking with you guys about these books, I guess, since your first book, if Mary Machine Gun was the first one.
Yeah, Mary Machine Gun was definitely the very first issue that Atrocity Press ever put out of anything. It was super. It was super fun to do. I mean, Fernando made the process painless.
It's painless on the readers too, I'll tell you. So Atrocity Press is sort of I guess would group you guys with some place like Coffin Comics, Chaos, the whole bad girl genre, because that does seem to be the focus, right?
Yeah, that's definitely our focus, is the bad girl comic book. I've always liked them growing up.
Me too.
You know, having sexy women on your comic book, it doesn't ever hurt sales.
It sells anything. It sells anything. Yeah, I remember growing up in the '90s, getting my gotta get my Lady Death, my Chastity, my Dark Child.
Mm-hmm.
I look back at some of it now, and I'm like, what was I thinking? Because anatomically, some of this stuff just looks wonky. But Lady Death always stood up. But she held up. She still looks good. I couldn't say that the right way. It was going to come out wrong no matter what I did.
Yeah, and I kind of have the same backstory, because I always liked the, Joseph Michael Linsner with the Dawn. I like Jim Balint, of course, with the Tarot. Back in those days, he was doing Catwoman for DC, which I thought was great.
Catwoman.
Yeah, I liked a lot of I was a big Top Cow guy. I loved the Annihilus, the Darkness. Some of those weren't even just bad girls. They were just, because you got Darkness, which was kind of like just bad, and even for the ladies as well. So
yeah, that was the he was a dude. So, but he was cool.
Yeah.
He teamed up with Witchblade a lot. Their stories were intersected.
Yeah, quite a bit. Well, and then they had like Tomb Raider, and they were picking up a lot of those different, I guess game verse action figures, what you want to call it, Purgatory.
Wizard Magazine was really pushing them. So,
well, of course, yeah.
I mean, say what you will about Wizard Magazine and whether or not they shilled for certain media, they got people excited about buying comics.
Yeah. I mean, I remember people that were like baseball card junkies when I was growing up that had Wizard Magazine. And they didn't even collect comics. They just like to read about the collection of comics.
Yes.
The comic book price guide.
Yeah. Well, that comic book price guide, I learned that was
Yeah, it's not really true.
It was not really true. Whatever Gareb Seamus's mom had in stock in the warehouse,
Yep.
that was the hot thing to own. So the prices would go up on that. Got Niobe Comics in the chat. Word, welcome, Niobe. Glad to see you out there, Larry. Woody Miller's in here, paying attention. So let's show them all what it's all about tonight. I have not got my share screen ready, and now I do. So, Human Hunters on Indiegogo. Indiegogo is that new territory for you guys? Because you're generally Kickstarter.
Yeah, Indiegogo. We ran an Indiegogo on Mary Machine Gun 1 and 2, which Mary Machine Gun 1. What do we figure out earlier today, Johnny? It did 1,700.
Around
And
17.
then Mary Machine Gun 2 did like 900.
Yeah.
And it's just Indiegogo is a completely different beast than Kickstarter is.
Yeah, because I'm like, what are you guys doing? Stealth marketing this thing? Because this should have way more than $102 on it.
Yeah, I don't understand. Larry had problems in Kickstarter on Indiegogo. Corey Hardiman with Sister Mercy.
Oh my God, that's a great book.
Who does gangbuster numbers on Kickstarter, had a hell of a time on Indiegogo. We're having a tough time on Indiegogo. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we did really.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, we did really well on Kickstarter. I mean, we funded in like no time flat over there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what surprised us. I mean, our Kickstarter we hit, and of course we did the real smart thing because we didn't know we were up against God. What was that guy's name that night? From
Derek Thompson.
Derek, yeah, he launched his at the exact same night that we launched Stars. So we were fighting with that.
The dude that made the $42 million on Kickstarter. Remember that? You heard about that?
I had not heard about that. 42 million?
Yeah, the guy that Robert Jordan basically handpicked to
his heir apparent.
Yeah, he handpicked him to finish the Wheel of Time stuff, and he wrote his own stuff too. But then he did a Kickstarter, and it broke Kickstarter. There was so much there was so much traffic on his page that it took hours for when you start a Kickstarter campaign, you'll get the email saying, "Hey, your Kickstarter started, congratulations," and then you can actually keep track of how many backers you're getting. Well, what would happen is people would back it, and then it wouldn't show up on the little graph,
right.
So then they would go back and unback it because they thought that something was wrong with it. So that really hurt because of day one. That's day one when we launched, and that really hurt. But that we persevered. We persevered.
I'm old enough to remember when the big record-breaking thing on Kickstarter was when Rob Thomas said, "Hey, let's do a Veronica Mars movie," and phenomenal numbers he pulled in. And of course, that was also the first time I started seeing people saying, "Hey, Kickstarter's for us little guys who can't raise money. Go to Warner Brothers and get your own."
There's always that argument of, should big guys be doing it? Because a lot of people say, well, it brings more eyes to Kickstarter, and then other people say, well, they don't need the project, or they don't need Kickstarter. They can get money from Marvel or Warner Brothers or whoever.
I think I may be wrong, but I think it's an even playing field. If somebody's more popular, then they're gonna get there. But just because they're a bigger company isn't going to necessarily mean a bigger draw. I think if DC were to kickstart a Batman title, it wouldn't move the world.
No, but they would. I'm pretty sure they would probably fund whatever they were looking for. $100 million, they could probably do that.
Probably. So, with all the titles that you have under the Atrocity Press banner, is this a singular world, or are they all sort of in their own place?
They're all sort of together. We haven't really figured out how they all work together yet, but we want them all to be kind of together. So the human hunters this human hunters world, the universe inside the books, could easily exist in the Mary Machine Gun universe, or vice versa.
Okay.
And Neo Tokyo is the future, so any of this could be in the future.
Yeah, we can see an older Mary Machine Gun come out of the shadows somewhere.
Yep.
So,
which would be pretty cool.
What do you got? 3? How many titles you got?
Well, we've got Mary Machine Gun, we've got Human Hunters, we've got Ninja Bimbos versus Zombies from Deep Space. We're working on Ninja Witch with Justin Hunt and his wife Amy. We're doing that issue for the first issue of that. We've got Love and Death, which will be coming out later this year, which is going to be awesome. I mean, if you like Bad Girl comics and Natural Born Killers, if you remember that movie, you're going to love it.
Okay, Larry says you've got 121 books, counting the variants, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, all right.
Yeah, but so this is late April. It's already hot where I am. And what I'm thinking is that why in the next 2 months am I not hearing about the Atrocity Press swimsuit special featuring everybody? Because since you guys are pretty much in line with the old Top Cow and homage industry of the 90s here with what you're putting out, that's the only thing missing.
Well, we're going to actually the calendar is still for sale in this Indiegogo campaign, even though the year's half over, just because people like to collect the art. So we leave it in there in case people want it. But we're going to do a Atrocity Press calendar instead of doing individual calendars per property every time. Then that'll be your
quickly
in 2023.
Okay, so 2022. This one's pretty much just the Human Hunters character.
This one is just Human Hunters.
Yeah, it's all Human Hunters characters.
And then in 2023, you're going to have an Atrocity Press.
Atrocity Press one, and that'll be like your bikini stuff, probably more cheesecake.
Probably be like bikini, lingerie, pinups. It'll be that style.
Yeah, well, it's proven to sell in the past, and we'll see if people are still buying it in current day. Now, how did Human Hunters go on Kickstarter when you? I know you funded, but I mean, did it exceed the expectations, or was it like right about where you thought it would be?
It was right about where I thought it would end up. We did $5,800 or something like that, which was enough to break even, which is exactly what you want to do. I mean, you want to make money, but right now we're building something, and being able to break even instead of losing money is fantastic. And I'm totally down for that, because if I can break even over and over and over again.
Yeah, okay. Every once in a while, it's nice to eat. When you put out a book that's got great action scenes like this one, I mean, look at that walk away from that explosion. That's and it's
got
just
the John Woo birds. Got the John Woo doves in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I see that. It's a nice effect.
Yeah. Those are those moments that me and Max write it, and then we get the actual book, and we're like, "Oh, this is really cool." That because for these artists sometimes just throw in their own little flair, which is really great.
Yeah, and I've told numerous times, like, I've read Human Hunters probably 20 times, and 10 of them was only the times I had to do it for work. The other 10, I read it just because I like the book. It's a good comic book.
Well, and that's it too. I mean, like, coming up with the idea of Human Hunters, it's like trying to find out what's not out there. I don't want to like duplicate something that's already out there. I want to try to fill that gap. So what do I want to read? And I think that's where Max is, we want to create comics that we want to read because they don't exist currently.
Okay. So speaking of the idea of Human Hunters, for the benefit of the people in the audience, not me, because I've read it, what is the idea of Human Hunters?
Human Hunters. Basically, if you take kind of like the old Monsters of Lore, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the whole Bram Stoker's, the literature characters, and you mix them with Mission Impossible and Fast and Furious, you get kind of a modern take on Human Hunters. Kind of like we're here, this is showing our first page, and where it really takes off is I was always a big fan of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. But in the actual written book, there was never a Bride of Frankenstein. That's something that Universal came up with. And I'm one of those people that I really respect the writers that came before, so I don't want to change anything that they did. So in this case, I really want to enhance it. So when you really read that original Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, Dr. Frankenstein gets into a big, huge argument with the monster. The monster wants him to create a bride. Here we have Dr. Frankenstein. He has that moment of his conscience where he's like, I can't create another monster. What if they, mate and there's an army of them? So he decides that he's going to throw all the equipment and the body that he'd already put together into the ocean. In Mary Shelley's story, that's where it ends. His boat goes away, everything is tossed, and then the story continues between him and Frankenstein.
Yeah, they chase across the Arctic.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, after Frankenstein kills his actual real wife and everything. So in this, it was like, well, the book said there was a storm, there was lightning, so that lightning hit that body, and that lightning went ahead and reanimated it, as you see here. And I just got to say that our art team, is so beautiful with that, just the colors and SK and the lettering. It's awesome.
Yeah. So
this is such a rich origin for a character.
I'm like a research junkie, so like the characters I create, I like research for like months and months at a time. It's great.
But you have this brief origin, and then you jump right to modern day. Yeah. Surely you guys have got to be thinking of one-off spin-offs for all of these characters to give them, more fleshed out. Pardon the backstories.
Definitely one-offs, one-shots, and we've got backstories coming up in the series because it is a ongoing series. We'll tell each character's backstory a little bit at a time, and then we'll have each one will probably have their own book at some point in time that gives a more detailed backstory.
Well, and the one thing, for the listeners to understand, like Max said, this is an ongoing book. Issue 2 is already completed, done. It's already colored. It's done. Issue 3, our team is already working on. Max and I have already worked on the scripts all the way to issue 5. And I personally have outlines all the way to probably issue 20 already.
That's good to hear. So you guys are in this for the long haul.
Oh yeah. This one's we're definitely going to keep going on it. As long as people keep buying it, we're going to keep making it.
Yeah. And that's like,
after that long done.
Well, and that's like Max and Mary Machine Gun. We were like so far ahead on the writing of that one. And I know Max has probably got the next, 30 issues already kind of sketched out in your head. Because, he lives and breathes Mary. And for, lack of a better term, I live and breathe Human Hunters, and then when we sit down to write, it's just beautiful. It's really fun.
So the Human Hunters is a collection of these monsters of old.
Yes.
You've got the Bride of Frankenstein. This gentleman here, he's obviously a werewolf, but
that is JC. He's our Native American.
Yeah, he's not Larry Talbot.
No, he is our Native American. He is our tracker. He is kind of like the number 2 in the group. If you go back up one more real quick.
Sure.
I think one more. Here we go. This here is Cleo. She's our computer expert. She's our geek upon geeks. She knows the internet like the back of her hand. Give a little bit of a spoiler. She helped develop the internet, so she has every single backdoor you'd ever want to know. Kirstine here are, well, as you said, Bride of Frankenstein. We don't really call her that. She's just the female monster. She's our adrenaline junkie. She's always the wild card. She wants to go that little extra step.
And
like
she's
that's
taking
one.
advantage of the modern advancements in plastic surgery. You can tell, or either that she's really good at makeup.
Yep, that is exactly right. Her scars they're pretty much gone.
I like the. I hadn't noticed it on this monitor because it's itty bitty, but on this monitor where it's great big, I can see that you've given her a big long word that I can't remember now, but it means that she's got one green eye and one blue eye.
Absolutely.
And they're flipped when she's upside down. So kudos to the colorist for catching.
That's
Well,
probably Johnnie.
I can tell you, yeah. Nice. No, I mean, tell you the truth, we have several steps. When these pages, we go through me, Max, and Fernando, our art director. When the pages are turned in, we have to approve it. When the inking's done, we have to approve it. When the colors are done, we have to approve it. And then when the lettering comes in, we sit down and approve it. We have several checks and balances because we want to put out the best possible product. I'm a neat freak and a perfectionist. So, that's one of those things Max jokes around about because, early on, I was like, okay, what about this? What about that? But it's just me and Max want the best possible book. If somebody's going to spend their hard-earned money on a book, we want to give them the best product they can.
Hell yeah. Better be the best comic around.
Well, I cannot say that it's the best comic around because I guess
granted, there's a million of them.
Yeah, but it's a really, really good and really, really fun comic, and I love the art. I love the concept. Yeah, a lot of these bad girl books, good girl books, every page or panel almost seems to be like the creators trying to set a pose for them. These characters don't have so much of a pose as a scene. So, I mean, the one where she's walking away from the explosion, that still seemed fluid. It didn't seem like she was standing there trying to, strike a runway pose.
Yeah, the model. Yeah. We want our artists. I mean, there's certain times when we want to I've left notes in the script that's like, her butt's in the air. This is a perfect time for an ash exploitation shot. If you're not working there, if you didn't know that, you should be working on a different book.
Yeah.
Yes. Take advantage of the exploitation. I'm going to skip all of these because these are the ones where we'll actually see.
Yeah, the larger copies is. This is Mateus Duarte, the interior artist. We give the interior artist cover A all the time. That way, you know what you're getting.
Yeah, and you're getting good stuff. I mean, this is nicely drawn.
Do you want to go through those characters while we're on that page real quick, or do you just want to go through the cover?
Should, because we've only really talked about Cleo, and I know who Cleo is. She's developed more than just the internet in her time.
Yes, she has. Up there at the top, the long-haired gentleman is Radu. He is our kind of, I hate to use the term, but our Bruce Wayne millionaire financier. You'll find out probably in issue 5 who he really is. That's some of these characters we're going to develop little by little.
Okay.
Right now, he's the James Bond guy.
He's our James Bond spy. Yeah. Next to him is Cleo. She is our computer hacker, computer genius. She does speak 36 different languages. So she's our brain on. Pardon? And nice. Well played. Or would it be Greek, sir?
Well, she could be. Oh well.
Next to him, this one is we're really not keeping a secret. That is Frankenstein's monster. He's kind of a character. He actually goes by the name Victor. He took the name of his creator after he killed them, and he's kind of like living a life of trying to atone. Below him is Christine, who is the other creature created by Frankenstein. The one dynamic that I wanted to change is every time I have ever seen anything done with Frankenstein and the female, it's always the bride of. It's always a relationship. Even Hotel Transylvania. In this, I wanted to do a brother and sister. They have the same father. They're created by the same person. So there's no romanticness between them at all. They are very much just, he's the brother that's always trying to keep her out of trouble because she's always the one going 120.
Trying to get in trouble.
She's trying to get in trouble. He's always trying to get her out. Well, I just thought it was kind of more of a unique, element to try to go with. Of course, down at the bottom, we have JC, our Native American. You'll find out more about him as we go. Above him, you're going to find out a lot about this character starting with issue, I guess it'll be 6. We start dealing with his origin. But that's Dr. Juan. He is, as you can tell, he is going to be our voodoo doctor. So we're messing with the New Orleans voodoo and the Haiti story arc. Kind of reminiscence of the Dr. John from Haiti. Yep. A lot of these characters are based in characters from history. You just have to find them. In the middle is Freya, and that is all we're going to say about Freya until you get to issue 4, and that will be a flash. What's our joke? Flashback and a flashback.
Flashback and a flashback.
Yeah, and that will be her origin story.
All right, and here we start getting into the variant covers. Mariah
Bennett's variant cover. She always brings the fire. Mariah always.
I find that funny because you get the people who complain about over sexualized characters, and out of all your covers, Mariah probably does the most overt.
Yeah.
It's like one thing I was talking about the other day. I was noticing that. What's up, Pops? Most male artists don't put nipples on their female characters, and like female artists will. I just kind of noticed that.
That would go right here.
The other day. Because if you go down, here's Alzir Alves, and he doesn't have nipple marks in his.
We lost Johnnie. There he is.
Oh, there he's back.
Oh, I had it bad blue.
Yeah, they're more smoother when drawn by a male creator.
And this is Fernando Cordillero's Fern Cord's special, the special cover that we did mid-campaign. Mm-hmm. We're going to making it available the entire campaign this one. Probably won't add the foil variants. We were going to add those, but I mean, the campaign's not. Yeah, the campaign's not going as swimmingly as we'd hoped.
Yep.
And then this one is the Indiegogo exclusive, right?
It is the Indiegogo exclusive. It's kind of based off of that her coming out of the water thing. We did a Beauty and the Beast
type
style cover.
Yeah.
Now we talked about her getting rid of all her scars, and yet I noticed that Victor retained his.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
Well, there's going to be some of them will be missing, some aren't. It's kind of a badge of, it's kind of a redemption story arc for him. He's always trying to redeem himself for what he did. I mean, in his eyes, he killed his father.
Well, that's because he did.
Right. But see, and that's the kind of the point of Human Hunters is, going back to what do they really do? A lot of these characters have been around for centuries and they've been hunted by mankind. And this whole idea of the Human Hunters is that they are actually hunting the worst of the humans. You know, your gang lords, your human trafficking. They now are kind of turning the tables. And it's now they're kind of finding their own redemption. And it's not that many of them were ever even, you know, evil or creatures. It's just how people looked at them, you know, the whole racism, bigotry, you know, they're different.
The gothic horror thing where you had a sympathetic villain.
Yeah. Now, apparently they is this a pose for a cover, or are they this close in the story?
I guess you have to read to find out.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to read to find that one out.
Okay. Because I don't remember them being, you know, that friendly with each other. Maybe one-on-one, but you know.
Well, there is 2 in the first issue that you see. So
so these are not covers. These are prints.
The prints that will come out when you reach. Well, when we did the Kickstarter, when we reach $1,000 every time we get them, you get another print unlocked. So at $1,000 we got that print unlocked. At $2,000 we got the next print unlocked.
Yep.
So we got all of our prints unlocked on Kickstarter.
But you can't go to Kickstarter and buy them again because Kickstarter doesn't let you stay in demand like Indiegogo does. Which begs the question: are you guys going to stay in demand?
We opted in for in demand, but we have to hit goal first.
That's gotta happen.
Yeah.
All right, so, and this is the calendar, which we already sort of went over. What I find interesting about the calendar is that it's not just the characters, but you're not consistently. Some of them are the characters as they are, and then some of them are more doing this. What's the phrase? 50s sort of
retro pinup.
Yeah. Like airplane nose art.
When we were doing it, I was like, I was really looking at one of these a calendar from the artist Olivia.
Yeah, she's good.
And I was looking at all her stuff, and I was like, man, let's do some of these as, you know, just like 50 style pinups, like Betty Page stuff. And he's like, that'd be awesome. Let's do it.
And so then you guys are known for making the 6 foot stand-ups. I mean, this isn't something you put in your trading card folder. This is something you got to commit to space in your house.
Yeah, put it on the wall.
I got it in the comic shop.
Well, yeah. And I've kidded Max before. I'm like, you know, if you've got artwork that's 6 feet tall, why are you printing it on cardboard when you could print it on a pillowcase?
Nice. Yeah, there you go.
I'm looking into waifu pillowcase stuff for Mary Machine Gun 4.
Yeah, and you don't have to print the pillow because God knows, as a shipper, that would be a nightmare to have to send out. But if you just
the pillows are just expensive. Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. We'll sell the pillowcase, but people will have to get the pillow themselves because those pillows are like $100 a piece.
Yeah, and you can probably get them cheaper at Walmart or something. Or just
I'm sure you could.
But just slip the pillowcase over there, and you can change it out with a different human hunter every night if you want.
Exactly.
Okay, so I look forward to seeing that.
Yep.
Now these stretch goals all say unlocked, and I know that's not the case.
Yeah, they're still locked. It's just the graphic. It's supposed to be a locked padlock. We put the check mark on it when they become unlocked.
Yeah, because I know I think they're all showing unlocked because on Kickstarter they were unlocked. I've got my bookmark right here that came with the Kickstarter book. So I need to put that with my other bookmarks. I don't know why I keep it in the back of the book. I have a page that I stick all my. Cool. It does look cool, and it keeps it with the book. So I am curious to get more detail on all the origins because I know Cleopatra was never a monster, but at some point she becomes the Mummy, I believe.
Yep.
So you get your female version of the Mummy, not the Scorpion King version, but and then these trading cards, which I did not get.
Well, if you actually do when you look at Cleopatra, even at those days, she spoke like 12, 13 languages. She actually wasn't Egyptian. She was Greek. She was really smart as far as studied in astrology. And really, the more and more I read about it, I really believed that she had a photographic memory for everything that she did. Because, it was just unimaginable, the things that they said that she accomplished during her time.
And, some of it might be a little exaggerated.
Of course.
Well, and she deserves, more credit than just being the girlfriend of Mark Antony.
Well, and she's one of the few mummies they still haven't found out where her actual resting place.
Well, that's because she's not resting anywhere, isn't it?
Yep.
That is true.
She's out being the human hunter.
She's been smart women throughout history. She probably called herself Hedy Lamarr for a long time there.
Well, and that's kind of going back to why she's a computer genius, because when you watch a lot of these movies about the classic monsters and all, it's always like they're in modern day all of a sudden, and they don't know what a phone is, and they make fun of them. And I'm like, no, these guys have been around since the dawn of time. They'd probably be the smartest, the most read, the most versatile. They probably speak, each one of them, several languages. I mean, they would literally be the smartest person that walked in the room.
You know what? Though?
Trade that.
That I think that there's a definite argument to be made for that for the ones that are naturally smart, especially if they're not experiencing the culture shock, like they've been buried for 6,000 years and now they don't know what things are.
Yeah.
But the ones who've been around, yeah, I think some of them would, but you got to think that some of them are the kind that would just do nothing but sit on Twitter all day long. It's like
Dracula does nothing but tweet. Dracula does nothing but tweet all day. Count as
Cleo designed Twitter.
Here, let's set them all against each other.
Yeah. Yes.
We should just create Twitter pages for each of the characters and have them argue with each other.
That'd be awesome.
That's you need. You need somebody doing social media work like that. I've seen movies do that. Well, look what the Batman movie did when they had that spoilers ahead here, guys. When they had that clue where it was like URL Lata errata. It's like they're like, oh, URL is that? And yeah, it was a real website, and it gave you stuff every day when you went to it, including a deleted scene at the end. So get your social media game on this one and start. Just have somebody.
Yeah, we've done some stuff social media wise and just website wise. With Neo Tokyo, you got a dog tag that was and it had like a form letter that was welcoming you to Morse Medical life insurance. It was basically if you ever played Cyberpunk 2077, the game, you ever played that?
I haven't advanced beyond Minesweeper, to tell you the truth.
Okay. There's a medical company that is like, they'll send out the private ambulances and stuff like that to pick you up, but they're like paramilitary people. Okay. So they'll do like airlifts out of like hot zones and stuff like that because you're in cyberpunk future where everything's machine guns and neon.
Yeah, but so with something like that, I've seen people, they've created an 800 number that goes to a voicemail.
So we had that, and then if you went to the Morse Medical website that was listed on the thing, then you try to log in. If you use your patient number, it would log you in, and it showed you a page like a virus had hacked the page, and then there was a free 12-page short story that you could download that was supposed to be like videotape that virus had edited together.
That there was a God. How long ago was this? I can't remember. It was long enough ago that it was BBS systems, not internet. But it was
Yeah,
like
2,400 baht.
you know what I'm talking about. But once you signed up for the game, the thing was you would get phone calls that with clues, and you would get emails with clues. And it was like, the game was just constantly playing, reaching out to you with all different methods of communication as you were playing it until you solved it. So you could be like walking through Walmart and your cell phone would go off and you'd have a text message from the game with a clue to something.
That's pretty cool.
I can't remember what that game was called. It apparently it didn't take off that much. People only want to play the game when they want to play the game, and not have the game play you.
All the time. We used to play. It's like it's a kind of a role-playing game, but it's a LARPing role-playing game where you're spies and you're trying to kill each other, and like you can use like contact poison or explosives and different things like that, and it's kind of a based on the honor system type of thing. If someone touches the door and then it's all sticky and they're like, oh damn, I got the contact poisoned.
Yeah, we did that when I was in college in late 80s, a small group of us with suction cup dart guns, because we'd watched the movie The Assassination Game, and that was exactly what it was you were assigned somebody, a random card, and nobody knew who it was but you, and you had to kill them and get their card and then take their assignment and move on.
That's basically what we did, but we didn't know about the assassination game. We just played the game because it was something we found on a bulletin board system.
It was a cool movie, and then it was like the whole crux of it was the guy who was really, really good at it is targeting, the fat schlub who's, uncoordinated but playing the game, and the guy's gun goes off accidentally and hits the master of the game. He's like, I got you. Like, that doesn't count. And he just loses his shit and gets a real gun and starts hunting everybody. So it's like, then it really became, like, oh, this is a horror movie with a very unsettled gamer.
Yeah.
So these tiers are not super expensive. I'm looking at the different covers here. I mean, usually you have like, hey, here's your cover. And then it's like, oh, but if you want the variant cover, well, shell out the bucks.
Well, we try to keep the covers kind of standardized. I mean, if we have someone like when we had Ed Benez come on, he cost more. So I think we charged $20 for that cover.
Sure. I've got the Mariah Bennis cover here, so there's nipplage, I guess. Looks much better in full size than it does in a little square. But yeah, all these are just $15 until you get to the Indiegogo
variant.
Yeah, these are gorgeous. Even the calendar, $25. Now, okay, this is expected. You're going to pay more when you use less ink for clothing.
Yeah.
And skin color.
Is that because it costs more to make that cover, or is it because you know that people will spend it?
Well, usually it's this and the prints that we're going to give out because we hit our goal, no problem. But it's like I'm to the point where I'm like thinking, should I go ahead and just give out the prints to people that buy the Naughty Edition? But I want to make sure that I have enough because I only bought so many this time because we didn't sell that many.
All right.
But we sold plenty, but we didn't sell, 350 copies. Like, you got to buy from Vistaprint. You got to buy your prints at like 350.
Oh yeah.
250 pieces, 350 pieces.
I'm looking at getting some prints done because we're gearing up to kick off our own Indiegogo for The Devil You Know Better.
All right.
We're going to do it in hardcover. Fingers crossed. I'm trying to find if the printer can do it the way I want to, because we have we've consigned an artist who's going to do it's 20 short stories by different authors. And it's all stories about, people who meet the devil. And I said,
So
hey,
is it about Max? You know, Devill?
yeah, it's the Devill, you know. Yeah,
Everybody meets me. Oh,
you should carry
wonderful
contracts with you.
day.
And you should just carry pre-printed contacts with you, or contracts with you for people to sign in exchange for
Hey,
paper.
let's not go there. I just signed one with him, so we can't do that. All of a sudden, Max owns my internal soul. I gotta be
You might
worried.
want to get a magnifying glass out. It might be like the Santa Claus there. That border is actually text. You might want to read that very
Right.
close.
That's not just fillery down there.
Exactly. But we're going to put a chapter illustration in for every $500 milestone we hit, up to 10,000, up to whatever it is for 20 stories, which I think is 10,000.
Yep.
I don't expect we'll hit 10,000. Maybe I'll be surprised. I'd love it.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you can hit 5 figures, that's a good day.
That would be a very good day. But then,
That's a good year.
if we get all 20 of them in, then I'll say, if we hit all 20, then you will also get all 20 prints as prints. They'll come with the book that you can, put aside. But I'm trying to find a printer that can do it the way I want, which is, satin page, satin page, satin page. Here's the illustration on gloss tucked in.
Oh, yeah.
And then have an illustration before each story as the funding merits it. So far, here's the thing. I've got Brahms Sleuth It right here. It does exactly that. I open the book, and then at one point we get glossy pictures and satin pages. I know it can be done. I just need someone to say, yes,
this is where we got it done at.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
I talked with one printer. They're like, no, you've got to have all pages the same. It's not what I want. But
does it say the printer's name in that book?
Well, who's this published by?
Well, this one was published by Nightfire, which I think is a division of Simon and Schuster. This one's Tom Doherty Associates. I'm not going for that because I'm not going to print 8,000.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was just going to say. Like, if it was like a smaller publisher or something like that, maybe just reach out to them and be like, "Hey, who did you print with?"
Yeah. We're going to release the standard edition with Ingram Spark. It's going to go. That's a done deal. All the authors have been paid. I'm just waiting for the cover art to finally come back with the expanded spine, and then after that, we're ready to go. But sweet. I want to do a limited run of the hardcover print to order plus 20 because the author copies are going to be the special edition copy. But that has nothing at all to do with Human Hunters, which is what we're kind of trying to talk about here. We'll talk about.
I listen to your stuff too, man. Sure show.
We're good.
It's coming. But for those who are watching this show, if you look below the video, there's a little line there. It's a link to this campaign. I would greatly appreciate if you would pop over there and take a look at these tiers. These, $15 books. Look, I haven't had any help yet so far at this show. I need somebody to jump out there and pick up one of these tiers. It's a $15 book. Just a click on it. Okay, if I say I have to follow through to get to the shipping levels, but
yeah, it's like I think it's $8. It's $7 or $8.
Okay, that's cheap because I ship in the United States.
And it comes with tracking, and it's like usually 2 or 3 day shipping.
Yeah, y'all use you're using y'all using Pirate Ship?
Yep.
Yeah, it's the way to go.
Yes, it is.
Definitely what we use. But when you take into account the Gemini mailer, the label, the tape, all that stuff, and then postage.
We bought 405 Gemini mailers for $250 because we're going to go through them.
Yeah, I actually have a 10% discount code, which I don't advertise. I've got it because I forgot what my name was.
You should advertise it because I had to use Indie Volts because I didn't know anyone else's number.
It's, code. I forget which one I used before, but there's several of them out there. I always take that 10%. I've got a couple of hundred sitting over here in the corner just waiting because well, I'm going to be packaging up Kimasabi's The Company Men here as soon as I get the final shipment in of books. And sitting on these 2 covers, but there's 3, and almost everybody ordered more than 1 cover. Plus, everybody's getting a trading card, and I'm waiting for the trading cards to get here. So I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm
you always gotta wait
ready to start packing.
wait on the tchotchkes. That's like with the way me and Johnny got it set up. We got it good. I mean, I'm putting all the data into the pirate ship label maker, and he's back putting the packages together. And by the time he's done putting the package together, I've just printed the label. We're sticking on the box. We move on to the next one. We can get it done in like 2 days.
I was going to say, you can get it done faster than that. Because what I do is this is why I got into the business. I'm an IT guy, 35 years. You too. We talked about this. I've got a SQL server running on my laptop, and I run all the Kickstarter or Indiegogo data through my program, and it spits out. It condenses everything down to 1 record per address. So if somebody's bought add-ons or somebody backed it twice, doesn't matter. It's like, here I am. And then it sorts it by the items going across. So it's like 6 people may have bought all the same things 2 different ways. Doesn't matter. You don't care what the tier is anymore. You don't care what the back number is.
You're just trying to buy product at that point.
So you label that gets labeled as Group A, and then it increments as each group. As soon as there's a change, you're like, oh, everything from now on is Group B. Oh, change. Everything now is Group C. And that gets labeled as rubber stamp. So what I do is I'm like, well, everything goes in a 10 by 13. I make an A. I weigh it. All the A's weigh this many pounds, this many ounces, labeled pounds and ounces in the spreadsheet. And then Pirate Ship, I don't make a label. I send them the entire spreadsheet with all those overrides. And then I get just a stack of labels printed out. And that rubber stamp is what goes in the very bottom of the label. So I peel off the label, like it says A. This one goes on an A package. This one goes on a B package, and I kick them out. I've got a 3-day turnaround for like 200 books when I do it.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, fulfillment doesn't bother me because me and Johnny just sit there and bullshit while we're putting the books together.
It's a very zen experience. If you got everything together.
Well, what's cool is in the back of my shop where we kind of set it up. We usually do it up here. I got this big 11-inch theater screen with a projection. So it's like we'll put on YouTube videos, listen to some metal, and just zone out for about 2 hours.
I'll do it with like Netflix or something because of the way it's set up, and with not having to worry about tiers and names, is like, okay, I need to make 15 of cover A, B, and C. I'll just put cover A, B, and C in front of me, 15 each, and I just grab, fold, grab, flip, fold, grab, flip, fold. I don't have to think. I just do it until I'm out of them. And I'm like, oh, time to move to the next one. And just, watch stuff. But I can't draw. I can write, but not comics, and I'm not going to try and even get into that business. But I can lick stamps, by golly. I found something I know how to do.
Me and Johnny, I was surprised at how well we clicked when it came to writing. There was no, egos that got in the way, no my idea is better than yours type of thing, and no arguing. It was just like, let's do this, and then this, and then this, and then, okay, we got it. All right, we're done.
How did that happen? Because, have either of you guys written comics before Atrocity Press was born?
I had written comic strips for, zines back in the late 80s and early 90s, and they were just obscene.
Right.
Short strips, but
and I've worked on scripts because I did movie stuff back before I did this. I mean, I've always wanted to write comics my entire life. It's funny, all my friends are like, I just saw that you got a comic out. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you've been wanting to do that since you were 5. I said, yeah, I'm a little late.
Got it done.
Well, that's the thing about this crowdfunding model that's out here and available now, is that yeah, people were doing indie comics before, but they were going broke after 2 issues sometimes because they just couldn't sustain it out of their own pockets.
And they didn't have the direct to direct to customer line that they have now.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and kind of going, it's funny, just the story of like me and Max is like we've known each other off and on for certain, mutual friends and stuff. But when we really started talking about comics, originally he wanted me to edit, was it Mary Machine Gun 2? To edit it. And I was like, we started talking about it. And then he's like, hey, you want to maybe work on a third one with me? And I was like, oh, yeah, that'd be all right. And we just started clicking. And then he's like, hey, do you got any comic ideas? And I go, well, yeah, I got about 12. And actually, this isn't the first one I pitched. The first one I was working on was a book called Native. And it was all about a Native American terrorist. It's funny because that was the one we were going to work on first, and then we got to talking. I'm like, I don't know if it's a real good climate to do something like that right now. And Max kind of agreed, and then we kind of talked about Human Hunters, and he's like, well, let's do Human Hunters. He goes, I think this is a good idea. And I'm like, okay. So we sat down, and it was just really weird because I brought the characters. I'm like, here's all these characters, and then we started working on the script, and by the end of it, like we're finishing each other's sentences. It's really weird. It's very surreal when he and I write. We started
typing shit, and you'll be like, "Yeah, exactly."
Or I'll say something, and we say the exact same word, and it's kind of funny because when we originally started this, we were in lockdown with COVID. So we did StreamYard just like this, but where you see this screen here, that's a Word document, and Max will be typing, and we'll be talking back and forth. And even though now that we get together and he comes up to the shop, we still do it the exact same way because this is a process that works great for us. We can still see, the words being written as we go.
Yeah,
and it's really great. And then I remember it wasn't long after we got done with the first issue of Human Hunters. He calls me up and he's like, you got a minute? And he's got this whole, it's Max, he's got the whole Sam Elliott voice going on. And he's like, I got this. What do you think about, ninja bimbos versus zombies from space? And I started laughing. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And he's like, no, dude, really? I'm like, oh, you're serious? And I'm like, he's like, yeah. And I was like, all right, let me think about it. And then next thing you know, we started working on these characters. We started talking. And I mean, it was like within a week, it wasn't 2 weeks, and we had the first issue done.
Oh, yeah. It didn't take very long at all.
Rick. And I'm like, it was 2 weeks from character development to the first issue was done. Just because it just clicked so well. And I mean, just because I was like, hey, what about this girl doing this? And what about this? And then we all, we go from the same background of, I love the old trauma films and the old, Up All Night, so
yes.
And that's the point of it, that book is very tongue-in-cheek humor. We
love starring Sonia Devereaux.
Yeah.
That's a book from American mythology. Todd Livingston and Nick Kapitanakis do it with Tim and with Brendan and Brian Frame. Beautiful. It's a B movie actress, and every book is one of her B movies.
Nice.
And it's sandwiched between the first 3 pages are her at a convention talking to a fan, and then the last 2 pages are talking about well, what did you think of the movie now that we sat down and watched it in the viewing room, or she's on Rhonda Shearer's show and getting ready to run the film. But I'm sitting here thinking
all night.
Yes.
Yep.
But I'm sitting here thinking that if you got ninja bimbos versus zombies from space, Zombies from Space is an Atrocity Comics event. That should be spreading over into all your titles at one time.
You know what? I got to tell you, my pet peeve right now in the comic industry is events. I have to say, I've been reading comics, forever, and it's gotten to a point where it's like I just would like to have good stories.
Yeah,
really good story arcs. I don't mind the stuff's planned out for 100 issues, it just drives me nuts though it's like event after event after event where I personally got event fatigue, where it was like, it's not for a good story, it's like for a good selling market. And I just want good stories. I wouldn't mind a crossover one of these days, but but if we do a crossover between our characters, there's got to be a purpose to the story, but it can't be that we're doing a crossover. It's got to be that we're writing a story and we're like, hey, you know what? Mary Machine Gun would be great right here. Or, Cleo would be good in this, and that's how I see it, personally, not just doing it for the sake of doing it.
100%. Yeah. I mean, they're doing it now because they know, hey, the last event sold, let's do another event. But nobody has done it right since Marvel's Secret Wars. I mean, if you remember how those titles went, it was like Spider-Man finishes the villain, he flies over, he swings over Central Park, like, what's that? And he disappears into it. And then the next month, Spider-Man swings out of it in a black costume, and you're like, what the? And you had to read all 12 issues of Secret Wars that hadn't come out because you needed to know what happened. And it happened in every Marvel title.
And I will agree with you because I thought that was a great crossover. I will say that nothing has really truly been done well as far as crossover events, personally, just my opinion, was since the Blackest Night that DC did. I thought Blackest Night was done very well. I thought it was orchestrated well. Granted, you had to buy 20 million copies to know the whole story arc. But
I was gonna say,
but they were interesting. They were good stories, it was really great. I was really, back in those days, I was really following all the different comic companies. And DC, for the first time, when you get the sales points, was beating Marvel. They were doing really well. And then, of course, let's do another event. Let's do another event. And it's like, that's what really kind of drove me nuts, because that Black
Flashpoint and then fucking everything else. And it's like,
Flashpoint. That's no.
Brightest Day is the one that threw me because it's like all these characters got resurrected, and I'm like, okay, this is DC Comics. You've had a handful of villains and a handful of heroes get resurrected.
Yeah.
Personal theology aside, we know that in the DC universe, hell is a real place and heaven is a real place because we've been there.
Yep.
We've gone to each one. So you've got these villains that are back alive again, and the first thing they do is try to kill the heroes. I'm like, do you want to go back where you just came from?
Well, and I will tell you, the one that drove me nuts is Flashpoint, because this is what drives me nuts about it. You have this encompassing world, right? And you have Zoom going back in time, and now all of a sudden he's not going to kill Barry's father. And that act change. Not only does that act change to now we're a multiverse, but Earth 2 is now different. It changed the timeline previously to that to World War II. And him saving Barry's dad changed every single superhero's costume.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it just doesn't make, it was just so.
It was the worst launch of New 52.
Oh, my Lord, it was terrible.
The one that I always bitch about is Doomsday Clock, because I'm thoroughly convinced that Jeff Johns went in with one story and Dan Didio gave him a second one halfway through. Because if you read Doomsday Clock, all that stuff that was going on with all those heroes, under Julius Schwartz, there'd have been a Doomsday Clock banner above every flagship title, and those events would be spilling into those stories. But more than that was like, Dr.
Like the old Zero Hour, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like that stuff. Yeah, well, the Zero issues. That stuff was brilliant marketing back then.
Exactly. And you had, but you had Dr. Manhattan saying, I moved the lantern 3 inches out of his reach and he can't touch it. Like, okay, first of all, it was well established in Watchmen that Dr. Manhattan cannot time travel. He can't go back and forth. He can see it all. He can see his future. He can see his past, but he can't go there unless it's the moment that he's there. And that's why I think that the whole thing was supposed to have been, I'd love to sit down with Jeff and find this out. But I truly believe that the whole Watchmen, I'm going to go create some human life, and then Green Lantern number 40, where the pale blue electric hand is holding stars, I believe that Jeff was going to say Dr. Manhattan created the DC universe, and that he's been behind all the reboots because he still hasn't got it right. And that's how he was able to change the past, not because he could go to the past, but because he let events play out again to a point, and then he would make a change because he knew what happened the last time.
He just kept rebooting.
He kept rebooting. He'd go back to the beginning and start over, and then just play it out differently. And it's like, and every time Superman shows up, but he shows up at a different time. He showed up in the 30s, or he showed up in the 70s. It was,
I don't know.
That's my personal theory, conspiracy theory.
I just kind of feel bad because, I mean, Alan Moore, I mean, it's like, it's pretty sad when you have a person that is so, I mean, I got to respect him. He did not take a penny from that when they made those movies.
He didn't take a penny for the movie?
For the movie, because he was such against what they did to his characters.
Wow.
I mean, he washed his hands of it. And I mean, and I'm on one of those of like, when the creator of those characters doesn't even recognize the characters anymore, I'm like, I personally don't want to read them. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to read any Watchmen. I'm like, you can try to integrate them, but I'm like, the guy that created them is upset with you. To me, that should mean something.
Well, I know that when they did the movie for the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, people asked him, what did you think of of what they were doing? It's like, what should I think? Somebody came to me and said that they wanted to make a movie with coincidentally the same name as a book I did, and they handed me a bucket of money for the privilege. That was the end of my caring about it. I will say, though, that while on the one hand, everyone talks about how Alan Moore was supposed to get his characters back as soon as the book was allowed to go out of print, and DC's never allowed it to go out of print, so they never get it back. At the same time, DC sort of shot themselves in the foot in another way in doing that, because since it's never gone out of print, Alan Moore is still collecting first print royalties on those books. So sure, he's getting good checks.
Well, DC's going for the long. They're going to keep it forever, They learned from that Shazam debacle way back when they lost the rights to Captain Marvel. They'll never do that again.
Yeah, that. And they've gone. I get that they couldn't call the book that because they screwed up, and now they said, well, why don't we just call the character Shazam? Because I'm like, no,
I still call him Captain Marvel. I
do.
do.
Everyone does.
By accident, then he's going to change. Although I did think it was odd that poor Captain Marvel Jr. could never say his own name, so how do people know who it was? Because he changed by saying the words Captain Marvel. And he's like, oh, who are you? I'm Captain Marvel. Boom. Oh, never mind.
Nice. Yeah.
But wow, we have deviated quite a bit from Human Hunters.
Human Hunters. That's okay. Let the show go where it goes.
We talk about comics and the things that annoy me. This does not annoy me. The only thing that annoys me is the fact that it's only at $102, and I'm going to have to start tweeting this one out because this, guys, don't make me back this one. Don't make me spend. Don't make me spend $300 to hit goal. Okay,
right.
I don't want it to all come from me.
When you already have one.
This is true. I'd have to go open an eBay store afterward. Oh, by the way, I did skip over the fact that you can get this on digital, and I know that we have people in the audience who have to have digital. So $10 Human Hunters digital.
And it's mostly for people that are out of the country.
Yeah.
And that's what we usually get. Most people that are out of the country are the ones that buy it. We sold about 100 something copies digitally this time.
Yeah,
on the Kickstarter version.
Yeah, on the Kickstarter version. So
yeah, because the international shipping, unless you go through Critical Blast Logistics, the international shipping will definitely kill you on a per volume book. We haven't had the volume to a country yet to go with Critical Blast Logistics, but when we do, you've got to have like 10 or more to a single. 10 or more to Europe, 10 or more to Australia. Canada's a mess because I was like this year's years old when I learned that Canada is not a country. It's a dominion of provinces. And if you mail from one province to another province in Canada, it's international shipping. Like, it's crazy. It's like, if you mailed something from West Virginia to Indiana, they're like, oh, well, you got to across.
Yeah. That's the way it used to be here back in the Articles of Confederation.
Yes. Oh, thank God we fixed some things for commerce.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm not going to keep you the rest of the night, but I do appreciate you guys coming on the show and talking about the book here. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a fun story. Yeah,
always enjoyed it. Thank you for supporting us and backing us. We really do appreciate it. That means a lot.
Yeah.
And I know where you're going to be tomorrow morning. You're going to be over on the Comic Related Madness. So,
well, actually, we're going to be playing Dungeons and Dragons tomorrow morning.
Oh, sweet!
So
that'll be fun.
Yeah, it's me and Pops and Johnny and Mike and Trish from Brink and Fetch, if you remember them.
Brink and Fetch. Not only do I remember them, but I sat behind them at the Northwest Arkansas Convention.
There you go.
And I was like talking about, we were in a podcast panel and they were asking questions, and I was talking about, our podcast and taking advice from them, and they turned around and says, "We know you." I'm like, "Oh." He's like, "Hey, it's Critical Blast." I'm like, "It's the first time that's ever happened in the wild."
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I haven't played Dungeons and Dragons since 1983, high school.
It's changed a lot.
The kid down the street was our dungeon master, and we had one guy who was a cleric who didn't know he was a cleric. He had been smiled upon by one of the gods, and whenever the cleric would invoke this god's name, magic would happen, healing would happen. Now the cleric, who didn't know he was a cleric, was just bumbling around and panicking all the time. So somebody gets shot with an arrow or maced by a zombie, he'd go, "Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit." And the god, oh shit, would hear his prayer and
no, wrong.
Yeah. That's
nice.
That was the joke. So oh shit showed up a lot. Anyway, thank you again for bringing the book here. Hope to see you guys again on the next book you guys do.
Yeah,
you go Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Always bring it here. Folks in the chat, thank you so much for being here. We don't have a show without you. And as always, while you were here, we just hope you had a blast. And if I can find my outro, we'll say good night.
Thank you.